Sup guys, how we doing, and welcome back to another YouTube video. So as you just saw there, that was me competing about 2 weeks ago. The most amazing experience. Comes very close to when I graduated a couple of years ago now, and knowing that you've put everything into something and coming away, and even though with slight disappointment, knowing that you've given everything is the most incredible feeling. The whole day itself, the lead up to it, knowing that, you know, all those Stairmasters were worth it, and yeah, it was incredible. But that being said, as the title says, there are many effects of competing, and I think a lot of these effects people kind of either don't realise or they try to ignore. Or people from the outside think, you know, it's all good kind of getting shredded or lean, for example, but there's a lot that goes to that, and there's a lot of sacrifices that you have to make. Firstly, it's so important to think that being lean and being shredded is not sustainable at all. That low body fat that you're at, you can't keep that up all year round, and that's the very first negative, because you think as soon as you step off stage and you have your meal and you get to eat, you immediately go back into, oh, I want to keep that body fat percentage. So firstly, energy levels. And your energy levels take a dip more than you think. And again, it depends completely what you do as a job. But for myself as a personal trainer, about sort of 7-8 weeks out, when I was doing some classes, and I can remember when I was doing a spin class, you know, even before and after, I felt absolutely fucked, and I'm thinking, hang on, like, I'm only 7 weeks out, I've still got this amount of weight to lose, and it wasn't just my legs, it was just, I just felt so lethargic with everything. So that, as a personal trainer, that as your business, that takes a big effect. If you were to do like a 9-to-5 job, an 8-4 or whatnot, you know, you've got to realise that you're either going to be doing cardio in the morning, training in the morning, cardio or training in the evening. During that day, you're going to feel very, very low. If you're dealing with people day to day, you can't be like miserable, and you can't be like just stooping along, and you've got to be positive. So it's not just the energy levels, it's your overall personality. It takes a massive effect. If you're watching this and you're a personal trainer, then just realise to organise your time a little bit better, because you'll have many different clients. If you go a bit OTT and crazy and you have them back to back, your energy levels will dip massively. And it even got to the point where I was kind of setting up what I was doing with my clients, and I felt physically so tired to even like bend down or even like demonstrate. It got to the point where, you know, even like demonstrating exercise or what we were doing, it felt like I was doing the training session myself. And what it was like, what I was doing was like a couple of kettlebell swings, and I'm like, oh, I just feel so tired. And even though it was nothing to do with the client, if the client clocks that, oh my God, he looks like he's a bit bored, which is not the case at all or anything like that, then that takes an effect on your business. So be prepared that just organise your time better, and realise that you can't do crazy amount of time and crazy amount of clients, because that's what I did to begin with. Kind of exhaust myself out a little bit too much, and I had to kind of take a step back a little bit and kind of reduce what I was doing, but in the long run it kind of paid off. Next on to socialising. So you don't realise how much prep takes over your life, and that's not to say that you can't socialise, but the fact that the prep's like always there, and you can't just go out for a drink with friends, you can't really go out to eat. And I know there's people out there that can do that, which is amazing, but you know, if you want to stay accountable and you want to stay on track and you've given everything into this, then it is very difficult to eat out. You can't really track with what you're doing. If you're on very low carbohydrates and you have to have a significant amount of protein, for example, you know, when you're eating out, that's not measurable at all. There's ways of going around it, but in the end, especially the last 6-5 weeks, you can't really go out and eat. And I said this before the video with Carly, that you don't realise how much of an impact that makes. Like just going out, eating some food, having a glass of wine, you know, it's not much and you can fit that into your everyday lifestyle. Whereas when you're on prep, you can't do that. So say, for example, you've had a stressful week and you want to go out and eat on the Saturday with your partner or friends, you know, you don't even have to eat something that's, you know, so-called bad, but you kind of want to have a glass of wine and you kind of want to enjoy yourself that a little bit more without going crazy. Or even in prep, you have to consider these things, and, you know, you always think about your macros and the fact that, yeah, you could go over them and there's a way of going around it, but that can play a massive like negative part of what you're doing, and you kind of overthink and you can kind of lose track of what you're doing. So it's a massive impact. In terms of relationship, I think me and Carly dealt with it really, really well. But when it came to, for example, you know, in the evenings when she wanted to like cuddle and things like that, it was very much that I was getting aggy all the time. So the evenings is when I was the most tired, and we're cuddling, and even, you know, you just get so stressy, and you get stressy over nothing. And looking back on it, that's why I'm laughing now, because I can remember just like little things that happened that, you know, just kind of stressed me out. And as a relationship, you're a lot more chilled and you've got more food in you and you're kind of enjoying life. But with prep, it's very difficult, and you realise that you snap at the little things. With a relationship, that's very unhealthy. You know, again, going back to sustainability, like how can you do that? That you couldn't do that all year round. You wouldn't be able to be in a relationship if you're doing prep all year round. So as a relationship, that's not healthy. I was fortunate enough that Carly understood like why I was doing what I was doing. It was my first time, so it was always going to be a little bit worse than perhaps when I do it again in 2 years' time. And going on to accepting that being shredded all year round isn't normal. So this is the problem. Once you've dropped that body fat, and once you've gone to a physique that you absolutely love and you want to sustain, it's very difficult to get that mindset out of prep mode. I spoke about this on my Instagram a few weeks ago, that when I first came back after my prep, so I had my show on the Saturday, had some enjoyable food on the Sunday, but it was so weird on the Monday that I kind of missed going on the Stairmaster, and I had to keep that in, and I had to slowly reduce it down before I went on holiday. So I thought if I stopped everything because it didn't feel right, then what I would do is I'd go crazy with food. I'd sit at home and I'd just eat whatever's, you know, in the cupboard. So I still kept the mindset of, you know, like I'm still kind of dieting down, I'm doing my cardio, and I had to slowly reduce that down, and that worked for myself. So when I went on holiday, I didn't, you know, even though I did enjoy myself, I didn't go absolutely crazy and think, oh my god, like I can eat whatever I wanted. So you have to accept the fact that you have to go into a gaining phase if you want to increase your muscle tissue. If you really want to build a good physique and get better each year, you have to accept that, you know, you've got to go on a little bit of a bulk. And I think this is the problem, because you start to put on a little bit of body fat and you think, hang on, you know, I want to be shredded again. You look back at pictures and you think, oh, I missed that. You don't really realise how hard it was to get to that position. And this can have a really negative impact on yourself, because you're thinking about, you know, where are my abs gone? Why can't I have my abs back? And then that's when it comes to unhealthy relationship with food. That's quite a talked about subject. With the gym as well, you can go OTT in the gym, that can lead to injuries and whatnot. So onto food and nutrition. When you get kind of halfway through your prep, you have to be very selective with the foods that you eat. So if you're into kind of bodybuilding anyway, in your off season you'll still be eating the, you know, the bro foods, the carbs, the rice, the pasta, the sweet potatoes, chicken, beef for your proteins, your fish. You'll be kind of eating those anyway, but when your calories really reduce and you kind of need to be getting those foods in, that's when meals can end up being a little bit boring. And that's not to say you have to go completely bro food, but you want to kind of be getting those foods in. So when it comes to the latter stages of prep, you're going to be having less of, you know, the foods with, you know, some people might have oats with a little bit of chocolate in, which you can have during your off season. But when you come to 8 weeks out and you're on, for example, just less than 3,000 calories or 2.5, something like that, and you're doing 4 cardio sessions a week, you have to be a bit more selective of what you're having. When you say this to someone who hasn't perhaps done prep before, they're like, yeah, no, I can do that easy, like I eat those foods anyway. But going back to what I said at the weekend, when you just want something like a nice little treat, you have to realise that you can't have that. It has to be very controlled, and that really eats at you. So when you really crave something, you can normally solve the craving by one way or another. Some people might reach for the nearest chocolate bar, or someone might go for an alternative that has less sugar, less fat, but that solves that craving. Where in prep, you try your best to do that, but that can be very tricky. I craved donuts from about 5 weeks out, but I couldn't find anything that I could kind of incorporate into my prep that involved donuts or tasted like donuts, for example. So that craving was there, and that didn't go away. And people talk about mindset, but if I want a donut, I want a donut. But I knew I can have it. So that's very difficult. And I think what some people see from outside of prep is, yeah, I can diet, I can do this, you know, I eat those foods, easy peasy. But when you hit that wall, when you want a foods and you realise you can't have a food, and it's very, very difficult. Into performance in the gym, you love what you see in terms of how lean you are, but your performance can take a dip. Your performance in the gym is so important for any bodybuilding competition. That is where you're going to retain your muscle, and that's what you want to be showing off. So you can do all your cardio and you can reduce your body fat, but it's the muscle that's going to make your physique the best, and that's what they're really looking for. If you start dipping too much in the gym and your performance and your numbers start dropping off, it's so easy to lose muscle tissue. And if you lose muscle tissue, then you're not going to look as good on stage. So when you come to 4 or 5 weeks out and you're doing your cardio in the morning, you've got a long day at work, and then you're trying to do what you've got to do in the evenings, and you're feeling so lethargic, but you know you've got to do exactly what you did last week. You've got to hit exactly the same numbers, if not better. And that really takes its toll. And you've got to do that week, every single week. You know, if you have a 15, 16 week prep, you've got to do that for 4 months. And that's a long period of time. Especially when it comes to a leg workout, all my days, like just even setting up the weights for like my hip thrusts or my squats or my stiff leg deadlifts or something like that, even just popping them on, and even the warm-up set that I was doing, that my legs just felt absolute fatigue, but I knew I had to kind of take my mind elsewhere. And it's all good, you know, doing that for a week or two, but when you've got to do that every single week, it's really challenging, it's really difficult, and it kind of makes you not love training as much. I loved what I was doing, but if I was honest, my motivation kind of went away from the gym a little bit because it wasn't as enjoyable. You know, when you're on hardly any carbohydrates, and your legs have just gone for a, I don't know, 45-minute cardio session in the morning, to then do a leg workout is very hard. And we do what we do because we love training, and I love eating, I love training, I love beating numbers. Whereas when you're in prep, that kind of goes away a little bit. You know, you're not eating as much, you're not really beating numbers, and it's tough. It's really tough. I hope this video has helped those people that perhaps are thinking about doing a bodybuilding show. I would highly recommend it. Just kind of realise, you know, it is a very challenging time, and you've got to invest a lot of time, a lot of hard work into it. It's rewardable. It's an amazing feeling, but just be conscious and wary that it is hard work. Other than that, most amazing experience, 100% go for it. Thank you for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.